YouTubers, I'm glad you're all here. Thank you very much for joining me. They're saying we have a possibility of an X-flare from sunspot area 3141, and let's make that bigger. 2 days ago, I posted on Twitter that the power was flickering here. It actually more than likely was a power surge. At my son and daughter's work, there was a power surge that knocked out some of the freezers, the refrigerators there at Walmart. Yeah, so if we get a X-flare from this location, I bet you that might wake people up. This sunspot area is Earth directed. Yeah, I mentioned how the power was flickering. One of the lights above my sink, which I never have turned on, it's a older gas-filled tube thing. A fluorescent light. Yeah, that briefly came on for a second and I heard this quiet hum. My daughter said at her work the hum was really loud. She was evidently on break, and the machinery off the break room kicked in. Alarms went off saying there was a problem with the power, etc. Yeah, so if we have an X-class flare, wow. They are saying that this area is an unstable delta magnetic field area. Here's an image of the current KP index, different places around the world. Yeah, look at that. I don't know if I can make that bigger. I don't think I can. Nope. We have had two M1 flares so far. And there's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 C-class flares. Yesterday, 1 C-class flare. M1 2.3. Alright, and then the other one, let's see, right there. M1 2.5. Here's the latest image from the sun from soho.nasa.com.nasa.gov. This goes back through yesterday within the last 24 hours. And yeah, you can see the particles from the solar stream coming. See that over there on the probably the western side of the sun, and then the top right there, a small solar flare that's showing here. You can't see all the littler stuff that are probably Earth directed because of the disc that they have protecting the lens of the camera. Here's another image from Soho of the sun. Yeah, you can see that area. Yeah, and look at that. Another image of the sun is pretty well pixelated. And another one, yeah, you can see we got different areas that have been shooting off. You can see the streams coming up from the eastern side of the sun. And what's coming around, it moves around from the west to the east. Alright, we got another gift image that's provided by Soho. It goes all the way from the 8th through today, partially of today. There it goes. There's that one eruption off the side. And you can see, now back on, let's let this run through. There's, an asteroid right there. Yeah. It looks like it impacted the sun. Let me bring this down so you can see it. And we'll let it play, and I'll pause it, or maybe I'll just go back. Anyways, there's the 8th. You can see the date at the bottom. The 9th. And there's that asteroid. Yeah. Kaboom. Some interesting things we used to talk about years ago about gremlins and computers. How you'd have data and computer problems, data loss, things like that. Here we got about high energy particles from solar flares and cosmic rays entering a computer chip and change data or command bits. And it talks about the loss of data or communication errors. In low Earth orbits, most of these events happen in the so-called South Atlantic anomaly. That's where the Earth's magnetic field is weakening, and so they get impacted more by the solar radiation. That is located over Brazil. It is where the Van Allen belt radiation particles come closest to the Earth's surface. Currently, our military is probably on DEFCON 2. It's been sending all kinds of coded messages to the nuclear submarines and stations and stuff. But it talks about here, more troubling than satellite electronics, is that energetic neutrons produced when solar flare particles strike atoms in the Earth's atmosphere. There, they affect aircraft, avionics, causing temporary glitches in both civilian and military aircraft. One important source of information on these particles is cardiac pacemakers. Yeah, if you have a large solar flare, it could affect your pacemaker. People be dropping dead. Or let's just say there's a nuclear detonation from a nuclear bomb in the atmosphere. All of a sudden, a lot of these people will probably drop dead. Millions of these pacemakers are installed in people, many of whom would take trips on jet planes. They record any irregularities in the rate at which they trigger their pulses, and this information can be examined when they return to the ground. These errors among airline staff do correlate with solar activity levels. There's also another down-to-earth problem with these solar storm particles. When computers crash for no apparent reason, some new studies suggest that these energetic particles are to blame. With more components crammed into smaller chips, the size of these components has shrunk to the point that designers are now paying close attention to energetic particles from solar flares. And it goes on to say that because this background, even at ground level, cannot be eliminated by shielding, and because it is ubiquitous, it may prove the final, ultimate limit to just how small and how fast designers can make their next generation of computers. Yeah, if you're plugged in and there's an EMP, it will be fried. Will not matter if it's not turned on. Example, my light above the kitchen sink was not turned on, but yet the light came on during that surge of power. I do have some surge protectors for my refrigerator, my computer. I think my freezer. I have to go look what I have here. I'm no way affiliated with any of these companies for different products, but this one, it goes up to 1,800 joules. The higher the joules, the better protection you have. I guess looks like I bought 2 of them. Yeah, you can see here. Let me show you the picture. Let me bring it down. Yeah, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 regular plug ports, and then it's got USB plug ports. I also have Faraday defense bags. I got several of them. You can see here that I've bought in the past. Black defense, black stealth, mission darkness. I have a mission darkness one for my laptop. There it is. Let me click on that and I'll show you. That one works really good. It's big enough to put my large laptop in there along with the wires, because you want to protect the plug, because of course the plug that your computer comes with has chips in it. And also I put my mouse in there. Yeah, and I put that in there every night when I go to bed, especially since with the nuclear threat increasing. Yeah, so yeah, hopefully if an EMP or a nuclear high altitude explosion happened, it would be at night, because otherwise my computer is on pretty much all day. This bag, or 2 of them, for my solar batteries. And it does fit. It was a tight fit, but I did get them in there. Yeah, and this is made by Mission Darkness. And only way I could test it was putting my cell phone in there and trying to call my cell phone, and it went automatically to voicemail, which told me it was not picking up any type of signal. So, and that's the same with the one with my computer. Yeah. So I suggest you get these and have them. And the power station I got is a Blue Yeti 2000 watt battery. For what it cost me. The price has dropped by a couple $100 since I originally bought it. But for $230 for a bag to protect it is a good investment when you're paying, $1,600 plus tax for a backup power station. Like I said, I'm no way affiliated with any of these people. I do have 2 galvanized garbage cans, a big one and a little one. I couldn't seem to find the big ones recently, beginning of this year when I was looking for another one. But it's too big to even go into the galvanized garbage can. What you do is you line the garbage can with cardboard, and then take aluminum tape and tape up the lid and tape up the side seals, tape up any place where there's any holes like the handles. Aluminum tape to make sure it's completely sealed from EMPs. Those of you that might have watched my prepper videos, I also have a Jackery. I bought this in January of 2021. And it'll run lights and things like that. It will not run my refrigerator, where the other Blue Yeti will run the refrigerator. It'll run my air conditioner, my freezers, things like this. But this will run my fans, lights. It can also charge my cell phones, things like that. I figured you should have backup on these things. I do worry about my solar panels. Now, my solar panels are not hooked up. So I'm hoping during the EMP they will not be fried. I couldn't find anything big enough to put in any type of Faraday cage that I could buy for my solar panels. So it's just going to be take a chance and see, I guess. But they are not hooked up. So that might be good. If anything, you should get plugs for your appliances. So I just put in an order for 2 more. I mean, for $16 to possibly save your appliances, your refrigerator, maybe microwave, heaters, things like that. That would be a very good investment. Very good investment. There's other companies that try and sell you more expensive ones, but for 1,800 joules, this is something everyone should have. Just to show you how damaging these solar storms are, there was an article in November of 2018 where a solar storm detonated dozens of U.S. sea mines. A declassified Navy document revealed. Now, this was during the Vietnam War in 1972 that this happened. On August 4th, 1972, a crew of U.S. Task Force 77 aircraft flying near a naval minefield in the waters off of Han La observed 20 to 25 explosions over about 30 seconds. They also witnessed an additional 25 to 30 mud spots in the waters nearby. There was no obvious reason why the mine should have detonated, but it has now emerged that the U.S. Navy soon turned its attention to extreme solar activity at the time as the probable cause. In early August of 72, saw some of the most intense solar flare activity ever recorded. Sunspot region, denoted as MR 11976, set off a series of intense solar flares. coronal mass ejections, eruptions of solar plasma, the clouds of charged particles traveling close to the speed of light. Here we have the different classifications of the R index, and it talks about R5, HF radio blackouts on the entire sunlight side of the Earth. Let's see, R4 would be blackouts on most of the sunlit side of the Earth for 1 to 2 hours. You think about here, they're communicating with their nuclear military bases, and yeah, if we get an X flare during that time, what the heck? Okay, let me pull this over. R3, wide area blackout on high frequency radio communication, loss of radio contact for about an hour on the sunlit side of the Earth. And then R2, limited blackout communication on the sunlight side, loss of radio contact for tens of minutes. And then R1, weak or minor degradation of high frequency radio communication on the sunlit side. So we'll just have to keep an eye on this bad boy. Yep. Yeah, always be prepared, be safe. And I'll talk to you later. God bless you.